Namaste. This is Professor Subramanyam Naidu, Professor of Anthropology, former Dean and Director, Central University, Pondicherry, and member of Indian Council of Social Science Research and NCRT. Today we are going to have a discussion. With this background, now let us discuss and know what is a tribe, the concept of the tribe, how the tribal studies in the name of ethnographic studies developed in India over a period of time, and define the tribe, the essential characteristics of the tribe, and the geographical distribution of the tribe in India, and different languages used by the tribes. So, if you look into these details, it will be easy to identify the tribe, whether these characteristics are there or not among the tribes. So, any particular community, you can use this methodology of anthropology for studying the community. Both the concepts, definition, and the characteristics are very important. Now, we are going to discuss all these aspects one by one to understand the tribe. What is a tribe? And the characteristics of the tribe? How you can say a particular community belongs to a tribe or not. Now let us look into these aspects. The tribes are very simple people with unique customs, traditions, and practices. They lived a life of isolation, or you can say that geographical isolation. In India, aboriginal tribes have lived from ages in forests and hilly areas without any communication with various centers of civilization. There is no exact defining or the criteria for considering a tribe as a human group. However, researchers defined it in various forms at different times. Sometimes they called as tribe, as aboriginal people, or depressed classes, or Adivasees, and as First Nations. Normally, a tribe may be a group of individuals during a primitive or barbarous stage of development, acknowledging the authority of a chief and typically regarding them as having a same ancestors. In a simple way, we can say a tribe is a group of people generally constituting a homogeneous unit, claiming a common ancestry, living in a particular geographical area, generally lacking in scientific knowledge and modern technology. They are having a strong social structure based on kinship and speaking a common language. So, in simple, we can say the tribes claim a common ancestry and living in a particular geographical area and having a strong kinship system and speaking a common language. That is the general observations of a tribe for identification. Here I would like to mention the important characteristics identified by Lokur Committee for identification of the scheduled tribes. The important characteristics are primitive traits. That means, they have their own traits like totemic objectives, their marriage rituals, death rituals, performances, and economy. All these cultural traits are unique for them. Then distinctive culture, not only in dress, in every aspect they are different from others, and they are always shyness of the contact with the public at large. They will shy by looking at the outsiders and they disappear into the forest. That is also my one of my experiences among the tribals. Whenever I will try to go there to meet them and discuss with them, they simply disappears into the forest or go into the houses and close their doors. And it requires a lot of time for make friendship with them and to collect the data also. And geographical isolation is very important characteristics identified by the local committee. Then backwardness and social and economic weakness. That is the another important aspect local committee has recommended in identifying the scheduled tribe. Now let us look into the definitions of a tribe. According to the Imperial Gazette of India, a tribe is a collection of families bearing a common name, speaking a common dialect, occupying or professing to occupy a common territory, and it is usually endogamous, though originally it might have been so. So a simple definition has been given in the Imperial Gazette of India. And as per the definition of Oxford Dictionary, a tribe is a group of people in a primitive or barbarous stage of development, acknowledging the authority of a chief and usually regarding themselves as a common ancestor. Lucy Mayer defines a tribe as an independent political division of a population with a common culture. While D.N. Mazumdar defines a tribe as a social group with a territorial affiliation, endogamous with no specializations of functions, ruled by tribal officers, hereditary or otherwise united in language or dialect, recognizing the social distance with other tribes or castes. That is, he speaks about endogamy and living exclusively isolation from other caste populations. Another anthropologist, Ralph Linton, defines a tribe may be a group of bands occupying a contiguous territory on territories and having a feeling or sense of unity deriving from numerous similarities in culture, frequent contacts with a certain community of interest. So he gives more importance on kinship. That is, we call as a band system. Lewis believes that tribal societies are small in scale or restricted with the spatial and temporal range of their social, political, and legal relations and possesses a morality, a religion, and a broader view of corresponding dimensions. He lays emphasis more on political structure and network of relations among the kinship system and also the bands. That is the difference between the previous definitions and other definitions. Another important definition is by T.B. Nayak. He gives a different cultural features of a tribe. He defines tribe should have a least functional interdependence within the community. That is, a tribe is divided into number of gotras, or we can call as a clans and bands. So these are all dependent on each other for their social, cultural, and economic activities. The second one is economically backward. That is, they are the primitive and having a traditional means of exploiting natural resources. Tribal economy should be at an underdeveloped stage and having a multifarious economic pursuits. That means, they are not developed communities. Still, they are food gathering, hunting, fishing, and shifting cultivation and domestication of animals are the most important occupations for them. That is why we can call this the economically backward communities. Another feature of a tribe is a comparative geographical isolation of its people. So the tribes generally live in the forest regions or interior regions and they prefer isolation. They don't want to live with any caste or communities population. Most of the tribal villages are you can able to see in the interior jungles. They are live in isolation. Generally, they don't like to live with the caste populations. That is the unique characteristics of the tribes. Of course, now because of industrialization, urbanization, and acculturation, some of the tribes, especially the plain tribes, are inhabiting with the caste populations also present today. And the another feature is having a common dialect. It is a very important one. Every tribe has having its own dialect, which differ from other tribal languages or from the caste populations. Of course, present day, many of them are adopted for their survival local and regional languages also. Then another important feature is politically unorganized and community panchayat should be influential. Here, it is a unique characteristics of the tribe. They have their own indigenous traditional tribal laws. It is entire community is governed by the tribal laws. They have their own chief and also they have their own customs and traditions in dealing with the different type of cases. They have their own customary laws. The laws are different from others. They won't go for any police station or other. The tribal laws are different from other laws. Guhe, in his tribal studies, discusses that religion or occupation or racial features prove inadequate when one attempts to distinguish tribe from non-tribe in India. It is a really very important aspect to be considered because based on the racial features and occupation and religion, we cannot say that a particular community belongs to tribe or not. He gives some substantiative recommendations to identify as a tribe. They live away from civilized world in most inaccessible part of both forest and hill regions. The second one is they belong either to one of three stocks such as Negrito, Australoid or Mongoloid. The third one is they speak a same tribal dialect. All the tribes belong to a particular group speaks a separate dialect of their own. Then fourth one is they possess a primitive religion known as animism in which worship of ghosts or spirits is the most important element. This is very important, which I have also observed in my tribal studies that most of the tribes have their own animistic way of worship, the gods. Then fifth one is they follow primitive occupation such as gleaning, hunting and gathering and forest produce, which I have discussed with you earlier. Many of the tribes, especially the primitive tribes, belong to India, still follow the traditional way of food gathering, hunting, fishing, slash and burn, that is podu cultivation and domestication of animals, fishing, or some of them are the major occupations for them. Then sixth one is they are largely carnivorous and flesh or meat eaters. Of course, except the Todas of Nilgiri Hills, who are pastoralists, all others are non vegetarian tribes. They live either naked or semi naked, using tree bark and leaves for clothing. Yes, once they are semi naked and naked, now most of them, or majority of them, except Andaman tribes, majority of them are now wearing cloths. Most of the tribes who are living in the interior areas and forest regions, they have their own way of distillation of alcohol, indigenous way of preparing and drinking habits. And another important feature is they have their own folklore and folk dances. They have a rich cultural heritage of dance and songs. Every tribe they have a songs and dances. Some of the tribes, especially central India, they are having rich knowledge based on the forest and flora, which I have recorded, and you can see just a bit now. They describe in their songs almost all the flora and fauna from the forest which are available. Many of us thinks these are the folk songs and dances. Yes, they are the folk songs dances. Preserve rich cultural heritage of flora and fauna which are available in the central Indian forest. The Baiga's songs reveals what is the flora and what is the fauna available in the jungle. The songs sung by both men and women tells about the species available, that is fruits, roots, tubers available in the jungle, and the taste, how it tastes, how it can be cooked, how it can be eaten, or described in the songs. And also in the same way, the fauna, that is what are the wildlife available and the taste of each meat and where they are available in the jungle, all are discussed in the songs. It is a oral tradition preserved from generations about the flora fauna in the jungle which are available for their subsistence of livelihood. I would like to say here, even today, either anthropologist or botanist or zoologist never tried to analyze these type of songs. What are the flora and fauna, how it tastes, how they are cooking, and how they are eating. These songs should be analyzed in depth before the songs extinct from this Baiga community. Characteristics of the Indian tribes are they have a definite geographical and social area. So, a tribe lives in a particular geographical area and a particular place. First example is the Todas of Nilgiris, the Kota of Nilgiris, the Gonds or the Chenchus or for Nalamalai forest regions. Almost all the tribes, they live in isolation in a particular geographical area. Of course, over a period of time, because of the urbanization, expansion and deforestation, some of the tribes has been distributed or migrated to plain areas also. The second one is lives in hilly or forest areas. Most of the tribes, especially the primitive tribes, still they are living in the forest and forest regions, especially the Jarvas, the Shompen population of Andaman Islands, the Sentinelese, and the population of northeast Maram Nagas, the central Indian tribes of Abus Maria, and the Chenchus of Andhra Pradesh, Kotas of Nilgiris. Many of them are still living in the forest regions and interior regions and inaccessible areas. The third one is integrated social organization on the basis of primarily on blood relationship. It is very important. Is social organization is very strong. The network of kinship relations they have and kinship bondage is very, very strong among them, and blood relations is very important among the tribals. Most of the tribals, they have their own kinship terminologies and also the blood relationships. Then another important one is cultural homogeneity is the main characteristic of the community. They doesn't have heterogeneity. They are all belong to one group, one population. There is no hierarchy among the clan system also. So we have in the caste population differences and hierarchy, but whereas among the tribals they belong to almost all of them are equal category. For example, among the quotas we have different occupations for different clans, but all of them are equal. That is unique characteristics of among the tribal populations. Then another important is they have a common dialect with a shared folklore. It is a very important one. Every tribe have their own language, folk songs, folk dances. We can identify many of the tribes based on their folk songs and folklore and folk, and most of the literature of the tribes are stored in the way of folk songs and folk stories. That is the one of the important characteristics. And another important one is hierarchy among the men and groups is absent. There is no distinction between one group to another group. That is, we can call them as clans or bands. There is no hierarchy. All are equal. Social bonds among the tribes is kinship system. They have a strong network of a kinship system, which I have told you earlier also. They are tied with the kinship bondages very strongly. That is important. Almost all the tribes, they have their kinship terminologies. They have the totemic objectives, totemic way of worship. That is another important one. Then absence of lack of strong, complex, formal organizations. They doesn't have the political panchayat system which we are having, and they doesn't have any constitutional amendments or constitutional way of prescribed rules and regulations. They have a communitarian basis of land holding. Here, which I wanted to discuss with you, majority of the communities doesn't have a independent common land holding. Of course, present day they are holding, especially the plain tribes, they have their own lands, pata lands. But whereas in the tribal areas, they doesn't have a particular land belongs to a particular tribe. Another important cultural feature is segmentary in character. They have their own division of labor for both men and women and also the children. They have their own way of doing the things. In many of the tribes, once they had the gotal, that is youth organizations for both male and female. Now, because of acculturation, among the most of the tribes it has been disappeared, except in central Indian tribes. So the segmentary way of behaving, segmentary way of doing things is an important one among the tribes. Then little value on additional accumulation on the use of capital and market trading. Tribal economy is very simple economy. It is mostly based on the barter system. They doesn't believe in the market system, and they doesn't have the accumulation of money, and they live on the substance of the economy of their own. That is very important. A simple, primitive economy. Especially timber, forest produce, which they will be selling it into the barter system to the weekly shanties for their survival. And another one is lack of distinction between forms as well as substance of religion. Religion plays a very important role among them, which I have discussed with you. They are animistic, worship the nature, plants, animals, and trees, sun, moon, and other gods. Last one is a distinctive psychological view towards enjoying life. I feel myself they are the beautiful and wonderful people who are enjoying the life like anything. Some of the tribes who are living in the forest regions and interior regions enjoying life like anything. They are independent, they have their own way of life, and they have their songs, dances, and every day they have their own distilled liquor consumption, and they are so strongly kinshiply network and associated by themselves. I hope you might have enjoyed this discussion on identifying a scheduled tribe. Here I have in detail discussion made on what is a tribe, tribal definition, tribal concept, and also the characteristics of the tribe pronounced by various anthropologists and administrators. I hope you have satisfaction about this discussion. Subscribe this channel to know more about ethnic cultures of India. Namaste. Thank you very much.